sing about the moon and the June and the spring. I love to sing about a sky of blue or a tea for two.
Hi everyone, welcome to another Broken Meeple review. I'm Luke Hector, and today I'm talking about an expansion to a great party/deduction game that has been doing well ever since its initial release. There was an old party game called Dixit. Well, I say old, it's old for current times anyway. And that was a very popular party game. It involved you basically trying to get into everyone's heads with these special sort of weird artwork cards, and it was a really cool little game. I've still got it on my shelf. In fact, it's right there, in fact. Now, after Dixit, there was a game called Mysterium. Mysterium is this game right here. It was essentially taking the mechanic of Dixit with the whole, like, those cool artwork cards and putting it into a kind of merger with Cluedo. You had a co-op experience where the ghost was actually trying to help the investigators figure out who did the murder, and you were trying to find out the weapon, the location, and the person, just like a game of Cluedo. Except again, you had to get in each other's heads about, well, the ghost had to get in the investigators' heads as to using the vision cards to project it was this person with this weapon. It's a great game. I forget where it came in my top 100. It must have been top half. It has to have been top half. I'll check and I'll put it on the screen for you now. But this was a solid game. It's in my collection and I love to bring it out because it's, I wouldn't call it gateway level, but relatively new players can get into this game and have a great time. So originally there was an expansion for this. It contained pretty much just a few extra characters, a few extra objects, and a few extra locations, as well as a bunch more vision cards. Much like with the expansions for Dixit, it kind of was just basically more stuff, which is never a bad thing, because when you run into the same cards all the time, it gets a little repetitive, so you want more variety. And I always snap up those types of expansions like a shot. In fact, I think Dixit just came out with another one recently, Harmonies, actually, which I'm not going to review because it's just 84 cards, what you need to know. But needless to say, I've bought it and it's in my box. But now we have another expansion for this game. So I'm going to pop this one down here for a bit. We have Secrets and Lies. This one I've been anticipating for quite a while. Again, it adds basically more of the same. You get another 40 odd vision cards in here, which are again the same type of really weird and abstracty artwork, and you get a few more characters, a few more weapons, and a few more locations. But I love how the diversification of these cards has increased through these expansions. In here, you've got like a horticulturalist, is that the word? Somebody who's obsessed with plants, you know, a botanist maybe, that type of person. You've got a much more sort of extreme chef with lots of yogurt pots everywhere. You've got locations such as the inside of a horse-drawn carriage, a walk-in wardrobe, a sort of like attic bedroom. There's some really good variety now with these. And this is just when you've got like an extra 6 of each. You know, add them to the ones you've got before and you're suddenly going to have some much more diverse locations, characters and weapons in your game. So if you literally just want more of the same, then this is worth picking up just for that. However, why do I care so much about this expansion and not the one before it? Well, this one adds a new mechanic to the game. Now, it's not in addition to what you've already got, it replaces something. One of my weaknesses that I've always thought about Mysterium, despite the fact that I love it, is the weapon cards seemed a little bit restricted. On the characters and locations, you've got different colours, different objects, different moods, you've got all sorts of things to attribute to those. So you can use your imagination as to how you're going to portray them. The weapons I felt were a bit restricted because you just had one object on a single colour card and that was it. You know, if you were trying to relate to a gun and you had no way to relate to either metal or the colour on the card or violence in any way, you were kind of a little bit stumped as to how you were going to manage that. So what this expansion does is that it replaces these weapon cards with story cards. You essentially choose whether you're going to use the weapons or the story before you start the game. Other than that, you set it up in pretty much exactly the same way as you do in the base game, so it's an easy switch. you know, people wouldn't even need to necessarily know that you've done the switch. It's that much of a easy transition. And the story modes, story cards, sorry, are a bit like having additional. I feel like they're a bit like having additional location cards in a sense. Basically, what each one does is that it tries to set the scene that led to the passing away of the deceased. So one of them is, for example, you can see the guy is losing badly on a greyhound racing track. Another one, he's chasing his kid around the dark attic. Another one, it looks like there's almost like a cult ritual going on. Another one, you can tell it's a lover's fling in a masquerade ball. And another example I remember is burning documents in a fireplace, you know, like burning secrets. And there's a good range, again, very diverse range of these story cards. And I think you get, how many do you get in here? 18 story cards. So effectively you can use them in place of the weapon cards that you've already got. 18 is not a bad number to kick it off with. You know, another expansion later will no doubt give us more of them. And if you got the first printing of this expansion, I noticed as a little bonus it gave you a promo card in there as well, a promo story card. Hey, promos are good, it's just another image, I don't have to worry about them completely unbalancing the game. So promos for this are always welcome, more variety. But the story mode cards, do they work and do they add enough? Oh yes they do. I've been waiting for this for a long time because I have anticipated that these story cards are exactly what Mysterium needed to make it a near perfect game. Because I always thought the weapons were a little bit restricted, and the end phase where everyone is kind of voting separately on the final decision, that's a little bit wonky as well. But until they correct that, that's probably going to be one of the minor flaws I have with the game. But the story cards, they're brilliant. Because, again, like I said with the characters and locations, there's more on the card to set your imagination going. There's colours, there's characters, there's objects, there's moods, there's everything that you got from the other two types in these story cards as well. And how they combine with the vision cards leads to some really cool moments, because it's not always just a simple case that's like, oh, this one happens to have greyhound racing, right, I'll just put a vision card with a dog in it. You won't necessarily have that. So you've got to set out the scene of betting, losing, money, you know, win or lose, you know, those type of things in vision cards. And that leads to some really interesting combinations. So I really enjoyed using those story cards. In fact, it's actually got to a point now where I just won't use weapons anymore. It's a bit of a shame to have wasted components, but the story cards are just so much better than the weapons that I don't want to use the weapons anymore. I can see no reason to use weapons, ever. You might argue that maybe you want to use the weapons for teaching new players, but story mode cards, you just throw them in and say they set the scene. There you go, job done. That's all you had to teach. So there's not even that excuse. They're just so much better. And I find it kind of weird that the expansion gives you more weapon cards, because I can't imagine there's going to be that many people who are going to say, yeah, you know what, I prefer to have the weapon rather than the scene. It's like, nah, I prefer to have the scene rather than the weapon. I guess that's going to be a subjective choice, and it's not a bad thing that they give you both options. You know, you can choose either or, and they give you enough cards to make both worthwhile. So, whatever floats your boat, really. But for me, the story cards are just an essential upgrade to this game. They do nothing but good for replacing those weapon cards. And that's all you really get in this expansion. I mean, it's another one of those boxes that, you know, I will just chuck away as soon as I'm done with this review, and everything will fit back in the Mysterium box nicely. Bear in mind, I've already ripped out the insert to that game. But, you know, you just sleeve a few extra cards, shove them in with all your other stuff, shuffle them in, and that's it. Easy transition. So very similar to the expansion that came before, which I think was called, what was it called? Hidden Secrets or Hidden something? It was called Hidden something. Hidden Signs, maybe? Very similar, just now you've got the story cards in addition to the content that was already there. So I would certainly recommend that if you have just started out on Mysterium and you're thinking, alright, I want to get an expansion, get this one first. No doubts about that, because this has the exact same content that Hidden Signs has, but with the extra story cards. So if you want to at least try them out, then you might as well get this expansion anyway. Other than that, it has the same level of content and additional cards that the other expansion had. So I'm not saying the other one's redundant, you know, get them all. I say. They add more variety to the game. What's wrong with that? But I would say grab this one first, try out the story cards, and if you don't want to use them, you don't want to use them, fine. Just leave them in the box, you've got more weapons. And then when you need even more content, grab hidden signs, and there you go. You've got lots of content for a game that could just expand on and on and on. I mean, well, they've been doing it with Dixit for long enough. You think they're not going to do it with this? Hey, bring it on. I want more cards. I want more variety. So there's not really much I can say about this. It's reasonably priced. You know, it's not... I mean, these expansions are kind of like, who I'm paying another £10 to £15 to get an expansion which is just cards. But if it's for a game you really like and you just want to add that little incentive to get it back to the table more often, then they're worth their money. And in this case, it's even more worth the money because those story cards are a very small change, but they have such a fundamental impact. And those are the kind of expansions that I really like. Small changes, not complicated, but change the game so dramatically in a positive way that they become essential must-buys. And I think this is an essential must-buy. Granted, I wish maybe there was a few more story cards in there, but, you know, these are minor quibbles. They're only going to put so much in there, and you need lots of unique artwork, which is expensive and hard to come up with. So, yeah, I love this. If you want to spice up your Mysterium, I highly recommend you grab this expansion as soon as you can. You know, it's definitely a high-rated one for me. You know, yes, there's only so much you can say about just more of the same, but I think those story cards, I think when you play them, you won't go back. I'd like to hear your opinions. Maybe, you know, if you prefer the weapon cards, let me know in the comments. Why do you prefer the weapon cards? I'm interested to know. But personally, I will happily never use the weapon cards again. Just use the story ones. So, that's it for me. I'll see you on the next Broken Meeple review. If you like what you see, please subscribe to the channel, get in touch, message me on Facebook and Twitter. I want to get to know you guys. Leave a thumbs up and everything. And I'll see you next time. So regardless of which dark haunted ghost you're trying to contact, just remember, once it's all done and dusted, still only a game. See you next time, guys. Take care.